You're lumbering towards your bed like a bear ready for hibernation. You twist and turn trying to find that sweet spot of relaxation, but nothing's happening. The clock is ticking. And all you're wondering is, why can't I not sleep? Thoughts are entering your mind. I'm going to be tired for tomorrow. The thoughts keep coming. The clock keeps ticking. Before you know it, hours have passed and you still cannot sleep. If you can relate to anything within this video so far, then this video is for you. What is normal when it comes to falling asleep? The average time it takes for someone to fall asleep is typically 10 to 20 minutes. If you're falling asleep within 1 or 2 minutes, it's normally a sign that you're sleep deprived rather than that you're sleeping well. Nonetheless, a lot of us are struggling to go to sleep on a regular basis, and there's a lot that can be done. If you really want to sleep at a normal amount of time for the long term, you're much better off looking at the real causes. 8 ways to help you fall asleep faster. Number 1, thinking time. And what does that mean? Well, in the modern age, we're constantly bombarded with stimuli. Be it TikTok, lights, TVs, screens, phones, whatever it might be, our brains have always been stimulated. This is very different to our past. 50, 100 years ago, we didn't have all of this stimulation. Therefore, people had more time to think, more time to dwell, deal with their emotions and feelings. When's the last time you had just to have time to yourself to think, to digest things, to do nothing? The answer for most people is never. And here's the crux of the problem. If you're never having time to digest your feelings, your thoughts, there's only one time it's going to happen, and that is when your head hits the pillow. Your brain is finally having an opportunity to change into a different state, and to dwell, and to think, and to process. And it's probably, if not certainly, the worst possible time you could do this. This is a big reason why people struggle to get to sleep, because their brain is just spinning with thoughts and ideas, some of them consciously, some of them subconsciously. If you want to have some quick advice on how to deal with this, an easy one is having a journal or just a pen and paper next to your bed. Any thoughts that come to your mind, write them down. Thoughts that are written down tend not to spin around in your head. The next is to spend more time during the day thinking or just being able to process emotions. Great examples of this is walking, doing exercise, meditating, and just spending time talking to friends and expressing your feelings, your thoughts, and everything else. What doesn't really work are things like video games, Netflix, social media. They might feel relaxing, but all you're really doing is pushing the thoughts away. You're not dealing with them. These are some of the best ways to help deal with this issue. Number 2, a good night's sleep starts in the morning. If you can start the day well, you're a lot more likely to go to sleep easier. 2 quick tips on this. Number 1, try and get sunlight as soon as you can. This is an easy way to kickstart your circadian rhythm in the morning. Number 2, get water as soon as you can when you wake up. Drink as much water as you can in the morning hours, and it will really help your body get awake and be hydrated for the rest of the day. Number 3, evening routines. Now, a lot of people, they kind of delay going to bed quite late, and I've been guilty of this, and then force themselves to go to bed. If you remember from anything as being a child, or if you have children, you realize this doesn't work. Children need a bedtime routine. They need to go through a step-by-step process to then fall asleep well. And the reality is, adults are the same. If we just force ourselves to go to sleep, odds are we're not going to be relaxed. We've not had time to unwind. Therefore, building a bedtime routine as an adult or a teenager will help a lot in terms of getting to sleep when you want to. Some quick tips here would be to have some sort of ritual around it. So for me personally, when I start my routine, I light a candle or an incense stick. I then dim down the lights. After this, I go to the toilet, I start getting ready, start cleaning myself, start packing things for the next day. I get into my pajamas and I start reading a book. Within sort of an hour of starting this routine, I'm ready for sleep. My mind's digested a bit, it's calmed down, and the routine is done. You can pick your own routine, but just have one. It will really help you to build up consistency in getting to sleep. Number 4, give yourself more time to sleep. There's an old myth out there, which many of us believe, and I did for a long time, which is time in bed equals time asleep. Like a lot of times someone says, I go to bed at midnight and I wake up at 8 AM, therefore I get 8 hours sleep. The reality is, it's not true. First of all, nearly no one falls asleep straight away. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that's normally not a good thing. And we sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, and we also don't wake up straight away. Therefore, it takes longer than you realize to sleep. And an additional issue with this, if you only give yourself 8 hours to sleep, then it's putting pressure on yourself to go to sleep. The reality is, if you allot more time for sleep, you'll get more sleep. If you want 8 hours of sleep, I'd aim to be in bed for 9 hours. If you want 9 hours sleep, be in bed 10 hours. It might seem a lot of time, but if you really want to get the restorative sleep that you want and need, you need to spend more time for sleep. Sometimes that means sacrifices, sometimes it means cutting other bad habits or parts of your day, but you know yourself, the rested version of you trumps the tired version of you every day. Number 5, sleep variance. What does this mean? In simple terms, try to sleep at the same time every single day. Now, unless you're Brian Johnson or a monk, I realize that's not realistic advice in the modern age. However, the smaller the gap between when you're going to sleep day by day, the better. So if you're going to sleep at 6 PM, for example, one day, 8 PM another day, midnight another day, try and reduce the gap between these 3 days so it's as close as possible. The lower the variance, the better your sleep. Number 6, genetics and chronotype. The reality is, a lot of our sleep is dictated by our genetics. If you are a genetic night owl and you're trying to force yourself to go to bed at 9 PM, when your normal bedtime is maybe midnight, you are going to struggle. Sleep isn't always fair, I'm afraid. So if you know your chronotype, maybe you've done a quiz or you've done a genetic test, try to sleep within the realms that your genetics are supposed to be aimed for. Try to change things in your life to adapt to it, or at least be mindful that this could be a factor. Now, this is a very complex topic, and I will be covering a video on this in the future specifically. Number 7, alcohol, caffeine, and sugar. These can all make it harder to fall asleep. Alcohol is bad for sleep in nearly every single way and form, despite some of the myths that are out there. Caffeine, you've got to be careful. Try and avoid having caffeine in the late afternoon and evening. And number 3, sugar. Sugar can be inflammatory and it can spike your insulin levels, which will make going to bed harder for most people. Try and cut back on these 3, if not totally remove them in your afternoon and evening, and it will help you to get to sleep. And number 8, your environment. If your room's too hot, it might be hard to sleep. If it's too noisy, if there's too much light coming in, you can have issues in falling asleep. Therefore, do what you can with your environment. Try and get blackout curtains or an eye mask. Try and get soundproofing or earplugs, and try to turn off the heating or have your window open to try and get a more comfortable temperature for sleep. Investing in the environment can pay off big time. If you still struggle after these 8 steps, then you can reach out to me and book a free call where I hope to delve a bit deeper in what your problem might be. Now, do remember the normal time to fall asleep is 10 to 20 minutes. Don't be too hard on yourself. Remember that it's natural to take time to get to sleep. And remember, you're not looking for perfection, you're looking for improvement.